Yeah, it's funny because when you say that, I think about how we are made in God's likeness. I am made to be the arrogant artist, and you are the woman who doesn't want to limit. And it's part of what makes us beautiful. And
Yes.
the struggle with it is what refines me.
Welcome to the second season of The Laughing Mystics, an unorthodox journey through the liturgical year with Laura Lewis-Barr and Marcy Mederi. Hello and welcome to The Laughing Mystics.
I'm actually very nervous about this week. Ay, ay, ay. I think we got another set of really tough readings. Yikes.
I know, it's funny, all the readings in ordinary time that are really quite challenging. I think people think ordinary time as maybe a little blasé or ordinary.
Yeah.
But really there's some doozies every summer.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Well, I have a question. What is an unexpected reward I received for doing the right thing? An unexpected reward, which is going to relate to our readings. And
Yes,
so
I see
right...
the connection.
Yeah.
Okay, for doing the right thing. I mean, that kind of is a big assumption that I do the right thing.
Well, just at least one time.
One time. Okay. Do you have something?
Yeah.
Great.
One thing came to my head, which is that I was kind of estranged from a family member, and another family member challenged me to call this person every day,
Wow.
and to be in better touch. And I was like, okay, I will do this. And, it isn't that we suddenly got super close, but it was toward the end of this person's life, and I ended up being rewarded by finding a relationship with her that I didn't expect, and that was a reward for me, and I'm grateful for it. I think part of the key to the question for me is that we don't expect. So there isn't this conniving to it. There's just a genuine desire to do something good that gives us something that we didn't expect.
My grandmother, my dad's mom, she and my grandpa lived in Florida, and then after he died, she moved up back to La Crosse. I came back regularly, and I'd always, in my peoples that I'd see, I'd always make time for grandma. And, and we just had lovely conversations, and it was nice to get to know her as an adult. And then COVID happened, and I really wanted to see my grandma. And it was like that summer after the first big bad wave, and there was a little bit of reprieve, and my grandma was in an assisted living place. And so I didn't know if I could see her. Would it be harder on her for me to see her or call her but not really see her? And my friend's like, you should do this. And so I did. I called, and then she was inside and I was outside. So I was standing in the bushes in front of the front window, and she was just inside sitting down on her walker, and we were talking on the phone to each other and looking at each other and seeing each other. And we did that for a good half an hour. And then she got tired and went back to her room. And then that Christmas, right after Christmas, she got COVID and died.
Oh my.
Yeah. And so I guess my reward was that I got to have that time with her. I got to have that last conversation. And I think about if I hadn't gone, how much sadness, how much regret I would have had
That's a beautiful story. When I teach storytelling, I think about this question and this idea of an unexpected reward. And so, as anyone listening might be thinking about this question, maybe think about something you didn't want to do that you ended up doing. That makes the story even juicier.
Right. And that the importance of encouraging one another to take a moment and pause and really think through. Because I am very grateful for my friend who said, Mars, I think this might be really good.
Yeah, and in my case, it was not that. It was actually someone messing with me, testing me to see if I could do this difficult thing. It wasn't that difficult, but I think it's Joseph and his brothers. I mean, just sometimes we have these forces in our lives that challenge us to do the right thing or to do a right thing, not for good reasons, but for bad reasons. It doesn't matter because all things can work for the good.
Which I think is the root of that Julian of Norwich that many of us know very well. All will be well, all will be well, and in all manner of things, all will be well. Is that just what you said, that everything can work for good, even the hard stuff.
Even stuff that's not meant for our good can be turned to our good. And that's a real fairy tale thing where the witch or the evil queen or the bad coworker in certain fairy tales is constantly trying to mess with the heroine, and she's just going along trying to do the right thing, and she gets rewarded. That's a constant theme, and I think it happens in our lives.
A reading from the second book of Kings. One day, Elisha came to Shunem, where there was a woman of influence who urged him to dine with her. Afterward, whenever he passed by, he used to stop there to dine. So she said to her husband, I know that Elisha is a holy man of God. Since he visits us often, let us arrange a little room on the roof and furnish it for him with a bed, table, chair, and lamp, so that when he comes to us, he can stay there. Some time later, Elisha arrived and stayed in the room overnight. Later, Elisha asked, Can something be done for her? His servant, Gehazi, said, Yes, she has no son, and her husband is getting on in years. When the woman had been called and stood at the door, Elisha promised, This time next year, you will be fondling a baby son. In reading this, it's like, okay, this is Elisha, not Elijah.
Right.
Because, they just had to make these two prophets who were close in time with a very close name.
Well, I'm surprised by this story because it doesn't follow good storytelling. I've been noticing good storytelling in the New Testament, and I'm sure we've seen really good storytelling in the Old Testament, but here are my complaints about this story. First of all, why don't we get her name? Come on, man, give the woman a name. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, and this is the big one, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to her, like she's rich. Oh, let's just make the prophet a room. So there's no skin off her back. She doesn't. Good stories have a little bit of a struggle. No struggle here. And third part is, what's with the baby? Like, what am I to make of that? That it's like a magic that Elisha does. Maybe Elisha called somebody he knew who had extra baby and said, give that baby to this woman. I don't know. I'm unhappy with the story.
Well, right. very few women actually get named in the Bible because of the whole patriarchy business. So when a woman is named, it's like a really big deal. So if we get a woman's name, we need to pay attention to that. I found it interesting, though, like how she turns the head of her husband. Because as a woman, she would not have control over any of the financial resources.
Yeah, but she's a wealthy woman, right?
Yes.
A woman of influence.
Right, a woman of influence, yes, wealthy. However, does she get to control her wealth? Or is it really she's married to a wealthy man?
Well, that's interesting because she is the hero of the story.
Right, because she talks the husband into it. He would not have done it on his own.
Is it that hard to make a little room for the prophet?
I'm not sure if it's the difficulty of the task as much as the thoughtfulness. Like she's anticipating Elisha's needs and providing for them.
Yeah, I don't know. This is such a little domestic story, and I wasn't prepared. I want mythos, and here's just the little story. So there are 7 stories of barren women in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe everyone knows this, but I'll read them. 3 of the 4 matriarchs: Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, Hannah, the mother of the prophet Samuel, the anonymous wife of Manoah, mother of Samson, and the great woman of Shunem. That's the one we just read.
Right.
And then there's Elizabeth. So here's something I read that I really like. In the Bible, barrenness refers to the physical inability to conceive, but spiritually, it symbolizes a woman who experiences waiting, disgrace, and unrequited longing. To be a barren woman is to be forced to wait for a deliverance that only the Lord can provide. So I really love that.
Yes. Well, barrenness was a big deal in that kind of tribal society where fertility was essential. And in this patriarchal society where if a woman, particularly a widow, doesn't have a son to care for her, she's on her own.
Yeah.
With no way to really make a living for herself. And, they would hang around the temple, the widows, and, and collect alms in order to have food.
What I like about the story is that here's a woman who has all the material goods she needs, but the thing she longs for, she doesn't have. And the prophet isn't a seer. He just has to get the gossip from his aide about the woman's true need. So it does almost feel like it's not a supernatural getting of a baby. I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel real supernatural in this reading to me. Unless you read it that way, unless you read that suddenly the prophet puts a good prayer for her. And yeah.
Well, what I thought of is that, all the stories of couples who try to get pregnant. And so they adopt and then they get pregnant.
Right.
Right. So maybe for her, what she needs is to, for her body to relax and to trust that it will happen.
Oh, wow.
And so his words of comfort, of assurance, give her that.
Fascinating.
And I do like it, like the servant sees her deep need. And just like she saw Elisha's deep need.
Why does this make the cut, first of all, to the Bible, and second of all, to the lectionary?
I think it's so much about hospitality and caring for the other, about seeing the other. And so that's why, for me, it works in the lectionary.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and then you'll get rewarded. Then you'll get, I mean, on that level, it's like a a fairy tale.
Well, I think of that karma. I give out goodness and I receive goodness. It may be even more than a reward, but a consequence of
Yeah.
a life of generosity.
Yeah, and she recognizes his holiness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's something to be said, like, I want to hang out with that guy. That's a holy man. So let's do whatever we can to have as much time with him as we can. So we're going to feed him. We're going to house him so that we get him. And I like that idea.
Yes. There's like something special about him.
It's implied that Elisha is like granting an unspoken wish.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the magician prophet. I mean, isn't that implied?
It is. And I think that's kind of that understanding of an Old Testament prophet is they are particularly close with God. I guess they would have more influence then with God.
Right. And what I wrote in the corner here was, he's the precinct captain of the neighborhood. Our second reading is from Romans. Yay!
And this is like the third Sunday in a row.
Man.
We are just being hammered with Romans. Okay, continue.
Yeah, they're all interchangeable too, but brothers and sisters, are you unaware that we who were baptized into Christ Jesus were baptized into his death? We were indeed buried with him through baptism into death, so that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, we too might live in newness of life. If then we have died with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with him. We know that Christ, raised from the dead, dies no more. Death no longer has power over him. As to his death, he died to sin once and for all. As to his life, he lives for God. Consequently, you too must think of yourselves as dead to sin and living for God in Christ Jesus.
Why do I feel tired after listening to that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, okay, let's break this apart in order to understand it a little bit.
I had an experience this weekend with Marcy where I feared that the podcast was going to end, and I had a lot of feelings about that. And I had to surrender and die, because I think, I have a very strong ego. I think artists in general have very strong egos because we try to create things. And as we try to create things, we are sort of stepping into a godlike space. And this reading reminds me of the lesson I learned this weekend as I learned a deeper lesson of surrender that is unfamiliar to me. And I had to surrender partly because I couldn't talk to Marcy for the weekend, so I couldn't unload the feelings. I just had to stay with them. And I came out the other side, and I think what I want to say about this reading and dying is, I know for myself, and I think it's a culture-wide, for those of us who have a somewhat comfortable life, that it's easy to just want what I want and not have to deal with a certain kind of emotional, psychological dying, avoiding that. But I do think, for me anyway, life brings that forward to me, and it did this weekend. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Totally. And I think that surrender is so hard, to get beyond what I want in a situation.
Yeah.
to be more neutral, to be at which is for me gives me peace to what is, rather than trying to tip the scale one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, I didn't feel at peace for a long time. And I think
there's a lot of wrestling, isn't it?
that's
for
the
me.
dying
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And I have to believe, I was thinking about these kind of readings and saying, okay, I guess I got to try to do what we talk about every week. And so that's what it was. And, I think Richard Rohr talks a lot, and Paul talks a lot about dying. And I just hope we can all make a connection to that, because I think that is probably what we're called to. It sounds so obvious, but when it's happening in my own life, it's suddenly different.
It's like going through the eye of a needle, right? Like that camel passing through the eye of the needle that Jesus talks about. It's just so hard.
The thing that I want so bad that I have to say, I may not have it. I may not get it. I have to let go of who I thought I was, these are just examples. Facing myself. I said to my husband this weekend, I'm very arrogant. Oh my God, I see it. Oh, I see it so clearly. Yeah.
I think you're pretty hard on yourself there, Laura.
Well, I think, we're all these things. We're all these mixture of things. But anyway, I just advocate for talking about the daily small deaths or larger psychological deaths that we do in our lives, and not make it just about this theological abstraction.
The death that I have to face often is limits. And I don't like that. I really don't like limits in my life. And yet, I'm keep on pushing up against a brick wall and think, okay, there is definitely a limit here. How do I choose life? How do I be at peace with what I can do and with what I can't?
Yeah, it's funny because when you say that, I think about how we are made in God's likeness. I am made to be the arrogant artist, and you are the woman who doesn't want a limit. And it's part of what makes us beautiful. And
yes,
the struggle with it is what refines me. It's so mysterious.
It is. It is. I mean, why we have to struggle, right? That I think is a good question. Like, why do I need to do all this work? Why is it hard? Why can't it just be easy?
Well, I'm guessing you have an answer to your question.
No.
You don't.
I mean, other than like it's.
Well, Jung would say.
Tell us.
I think he would say, it's about building consciousness. It's about becoming. And I know within the last, 5 years, I suddenly feel like I'm conscious. I'm conscious of more that is in the field, as we might say, in the visible, invisible field, in me, outside of me, in others. And becoming conscious is, and Ilia Delio has a wonderful book that I'm going to find the name of and put it in the show notes, and I might look for it even now, where she talks a lot about this. And I'm just so grateful that she's bringing Jung into the conversation as she does.
Well, I think of, too, like the importance of struggle and doing the work is that I feel really good after. As horrible as it is in the moment. I love to swim laps, and it's not always easy, but I need to for myself, for my not just my physical health, but also my mental, emotional wellness. Yeah, and so like doing the work, I feel good after.
There's a wonderful book called Flow. It's about how the flow state, that is like the most luscious state that we can be in as humans, is a combination of challenge and having some ability to meet the challenge. And as our abilities grow, the challenge has to grow. Otherwise, we're bored. And boredom is really terrible. Challenges are what feed us. The book I was looking for is Ilia Delio's The Not Yet God, Carl Jung, Teilhard de Chardin, and the Relational Whole.
How does that one read? Is it super hard?
Yes.
Yeah, her writing is so profound and so challenging.
So hard.
Being baptized into Christ, baptized into his death. We were indeed buried with him and through baptism into death. So, I mean, it feels a bit like a word salad.
So we've got baptism and burial and death and new life. I'm not sure why he continues to circle that, but maybe if you do sort of take it as this mantra that you're circling around, that you can penetrate beyond the mind to the heart of it and the heart, because it doesn't seem to work for the mind very well. It's too, like you say.
Yes. I do wonder if it's a part of his promotional material, because he's writing to the community in Rome, which he hasn't been to yet. So this is like the letter before he gets there. You know, like prepping them for the importance of baptism.
Yeah, but baptism means you're going to be baptized into his death. That's not the greatest promotional slogan you can have. Be baptized with Jesus and be buried with him, now coming to a town near you.
So you can have new life, right? And I know we've talked about it before, you know, like the getting baptized and into the water where we can't breathe and then we come out into new life. We've talked about just even when a baby is born, it comes out in a sack of water into life. Maybe for me, this reading is about connection too. If I'm baptized with Christ, I die with him, and then I'm risen as well. Because he goes on, if we died with Christ, we believe we should also live with Christ. That connection, that when I commit my life to God, God's with me in every moment, and I am with God.
Well, I do think it's really interesting to combine and continue to combine death and life together. We don't do that in our culture. The Jungian groups that I get emails from, they have these death cafes. So this idea of really making death part of life, and that is what Paul is doing here, that we are connected to the death, we're connected to the life. It's not one or the other, but both. And I think living that way, being connected to this idea of the living Christ and the dying God, is a really trippy way to live, if I can keep my consciousness there.
Because it is all connected, and it was connected for the people of the time when Paul wrote this, you know, that death was not far removed. Paul does go to Rome, but he goes to Rome in chains, and that's where he was executed. He did go to Rome to be executed. And so that connection to Christ in life and death.
Marcus Borg says, and this is his big thing, that when Paul says Jesus is Lord, he is completely going
Mm-hmm.
against the emperor. And that's why they killed Paul.
A reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his apostles, "Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Whoever receives you receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me. Whoever receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and whoever receives a righteous man because he is a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. And whoever gives only a cup of cold water to one of these little ones to drink, because the little one is a disciple, amen, I say to you, he will surely not lose his reward."
So the first paragraph is the really tough love, and then the second paragraph is all about rewards.
Hospitality, right? Which connects so beautifully with the first reading. Yeah, so I look at that first half of the gospel as priority. You know, who gets the first portion?
Right, that's a great way of looking at it.
I'm sure you've heard, and the listeners have all heard, but I think it's kind of a cool little trick. You know, like the motivational speaker who's got all the rocks
Right.
and the water and says, make this all fit in this jar. And the only way to do it is put the big one in first, and then the medium size, and then the small, and then the tiny, and then the water. And that's what I think of with the first half of this gospel. The way that my life works best is to put God in first.
Right. And for Jung, that would be translated as, I think, following the call.
Mm-hmm.
I was rereading Marie-Louise von Franz, who said, to follow one's own star means isolation in life. Now, I don't think it means that you're always isolated, but this act of following my own calling and discerning it, of course, that's the tricky part, but that is what we're talking about here. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's just an abstract collective idea of what the good is, and the good is maybe not what God is calling me to do
Mm-hmm.
in that
Mm-hmm.
general way. And that's what got me into such trouble in my life. I think I'm looking at some early writing I did, and when I was in my 20s, the big mistake I made was I can just love anybody. Didn't matter. I could marry anybody. Didn't matter, because I was just going to love them. And
That's so sweet
I
and so sad.
I know.
So tragic.
And that's why I am who I am now, because I, had to rebuild and relearn that this statement and what it means in my life to love God above all things, to lose my life and find it. What does that even mean? Well, it doesn't mean obliterating myself, not as a young person anyway. Maybe when you're older you can do it, but not when you're younger.
What does that look like to love God above all things?
That's the question.
Right. And I think that connects so well with what you talked about with Jung, to follow my calling, to listen to that that voice in my heart, in my soul, and to hold that center.
And I think you were asking before, why do we have to struggle? A classic Jungian answer would be, and Rora's been talking about this on Facebook, and I'm posting about it, this idea that without the struggle, without the suffering, the ego stays in charge. And Jung talked about how in our lives, we are going to come up to a time where we are between a rock and a hard place. It's going to be so ingeniously created by our own higher self. It is the only rock and hard place that will hold us so fast. There's nothing to be done except either let go or, do something really bad for ourselves and maybe the world. And that's a question I just want to ask us to think about right now. What is that rock in the hard place that we are in or have been in, that where the higher self, God, says, you've tried to outrun this and I'm not letting you anymore. Let go. I guess that's what happened, a little version of that this weekend for me.
Right, that letting go.
Yeah.
And that piece about losing my life for the sake of the divine, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think I have to know my life first before I can lose it.
Yeah.
I have to own it, right? I have to let my ego develop appropriately in order for me to set it down. Or even not even set it down, but relax it. Because, ego is my friend too.
Yes.
And I need it. It just doesn't necessarily need to be this huge piece. It needs to relax, come down, take a breath.
Yeah. It's really hard to figure it out. And so life will give me a challenge and bring up a lot of emotions. And then I know, okay, here's the lesson. I'm being presented with a new lesson.
Not sure how I feel about lessons, but
So you said this is about hospitality, and I agree.
The second half, yeah. Lord knows we need the message today.
He doesn't frame it as you should just do it. He says you will receive a reward.
I suppose trying to sweeten the pot.
That doesn't sound like the Jesus I know.
Does that mean that there's different rewards for who you receive?
Well, what I'm noticing is maybe I don't want to receive the profit. Like, that maybe is something. In fact, maybe that's part of that first reading that we didn't get. Like, prophets are tough. They're tough to be around. They speak the uncomfortable truth. Maybe I just don't want them around. So if I'm willing to embrace the prophetic in my life, then I receive the reward that a prophet gets, which it's not always the reward I want either. It's a tough life.
I'll take the righteous person's reward. Thanks.
Well, even that, the righteous person, well, it depends if they're not self-righteous.
I don't think they're self-righteous. But doing the right thing. So when I do the right thing, it feels good because it's the right thing. Is that my reward? Is that feeling feeling good?
I think, again, especially think about our world, like speaking truth to power, doing the uncomfortable thing. I don't want to do it. Maybe I'll just give you a cup of water. Whatever.
But the person who gives the cup of cold water will not lose their reward.
Right. So if I can do anything, it's going to be good in the end. But I guess there are layers of, can I hold a prophetic voice? Can I hold a righteous stance in the world that we live in? Or can I at least offer whatever cool water might be? It's like a kind word or a listening ear, or not necessarily actual water. But it does, now as I read it, the reading feels like there are levels that I can be called to. It's all good, but can I do a little more?
And at the same time, whatever I can do is enough. Because I think people can get in that loop, in that trap, feeling I always have to do more. I've got to do more. I got to do more. As opposed to that doing what we're able.
That's good.
Well, we certainly hope that this episode has been a reward for you.
Ah!
Thank you for listening. Your listening is our reward.
Oh, it is.
And to like it, to share this podcast. So, because it is quite meaningful for us to do this work and to have you be a part of it.
Until next time.